to the Glory Glory podcast with me, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is Brush, and we're going to be talking about Manchester United's victory over Charlton Athletic in the quarter final of the League Cup, sending us into the semi finals. We're going to obviously talk some transfers as well and look ahead to the Manchester Derby this weekend. As I say, Manchester United beat Charlton 3-0 last night. It was 1-0 for most of the game until the 90th minute, really. Charlton battled hard in front of their 9,000 travelling fans and did not disgrace themselves one bit. United largely played a second string and laboured really to a 1-0 lead until the 90th minute. And then the substitutes came on with 30 minutes to go and certainly had an impact in the end. Casemiro, Pellistri, and Rashford. Fantastic to see Pellistri make his debut after 2 years after signing for the club, and what an impact he had. We were actually saying in the bar that 6 minutes plus stoppage times not getting him enough time to have an impact. But he certainly proved us wrong, didn't he, Brush?
Absolutely. And he probably did more in those 6 minutes than Elanga did the rest of the game.
Yeah, I thought Alango again was very underwhelming last night, wasn't he?
hmm hmm I mean, I know he's not his preferred role playing up top, but yeah, underwhelming.
Yeah, well, Pellistri getting an assist, and every touch of the ball he had was exquisite. Sorry, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he had a better game in those what was it 9 minutes he was on the pitch than Elanga had for the time he was on for the majority of the game. And we've been saying on this show, no matter who's been on the panel, that we want to get a look at Pellistri. He hasn't made his competitive debut yet. Elanga has had dozens of chances, has been out of form for a long time, and we just want to see what Pellistri can do. Well, it didn't take very long for him to prove what he could do, and now we're just thirsty for more. Been a lot of chat about him going out on loan, but I want to see Pellistri be a member of the squad going forward now, and I want to see him in the matchday squad on Saturday. Is that how you feel, Brush, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, beautiful weight of pass on that assist yesterday. The vision as well, with a few people around him. It kind of reminded me of Juan Mata, uh, probably because of his size and his ability to pick a ball out. I would certainly like to see a bit more of him. I don't know why we haven't, to be honest. Um, yeah, I've heard the rumors today that apparently Watford are interested in a loan move. If I had it my way, I'd probably loan out Elanga and keep Pellistri.
100%. In that same report, I think it said that Pellistri not really interested in going to the championship.
Yeah.
He wants to, if he's going to go out on loan, he wants to go to a Premier League or La Liga club. And I believe there's interest from Valencia as well. I could see him taking up that offer. I think he's been on loan at La Liga already earlier in his United career. But ideally, I want him to be part of the squad now because he looks like he's really got something to offer. Obviously not expecting him to start games at this point, but him coming off the bench
I'll tell you what, especially with the injury to Donny as well, and we talked about how frail our squad is and how important it is that we keep everyone this January. So that again potentially that's another option. With Donny out, that means that there's going to be some game time available at some point.
Yeah, it wasn't so long ago that we're thinking, look at all that money we spent on Ahmad and Pellistri 2 years ago, and we haven't really got much of a return. But now
Mm.
things for both of them is looking very different. Ahmad turning it up at Sunderland, and Pellistri last night showing what he can do at Old Trafford. So both these players yet could become part of the first team picture at United and really have an impact and contribute towards us winning trophies in the future. So I'm more positive about them too than I was maybe a year ago or even 2 months ago. So yeah, it's great to see young players doing well. And another young player who made his debut last night was Kobe Menu, the young lad from Stockport. He's only 17 years old. Props didn't really stand out on the night, but I didn't think he did anything wrong. Obviously, it's a big jump up from playing, FA Youth Cup football to come to playing for the United first team. But what did you make then of Ten Hag giving Menu's debut?
Yeah, I was happy to see him. I was quite excited to see him on the team sheet because on obviously, we know he's been tearing it up in the youth divisions, and we've been hearing a lot about this kid. Yeah, like you say, I don't think he did anything amazing, but he's so very young. Just to get that game time would have been huge for him.
Yeah, and I think as he said in his post match interview that his whole family had come along to watch, and I'm sure they were so excited. And they only found out yesterday morning that he was playing, and he said it was a massive surprise, and he had butterflies, but he just had to get on with his job. Um, I have to say that Fred and McTominay were a bit underwhelming yesterday as well. It's been a long time now since we've seen that partnership, but I thought McTominay in particular was very poor, and he should be standing out against a team that's in the bottom half of League One, and he didn't. And Fred had some good moments, as he often does. I think Fred has more quality on the ball than McTominay, but McTominay is beginning to look like a yesterday's man now. He's part of a different era, and we've got better players now, and I don't think he's going to fit in the long term. What do you think?
To be honest, I don't think anybody did exceptionally well yesterday. We were pretty much in second gear, weren't we? The scoreline kind of flat us. Obviously, big impact after Rashford and Casemiro and all the first teamers came on. But yeah, before that, it didn't really look that great. As for Scotty, I've always said, like, he is a squad player. So yeah, as long as you see him as just that, it's okay. I'm not expecting anything else from him.
Yeah, he's a squad player for now, but I think that the more quality that Ten Hag brings in the next couple of transfer windows, it's going to push McTominay further down the pecking order, and I think eventually he'll probably leave and go to a team further down the Premier League.
Yeah,
It,
most definitely, especially when you consider his age as well. The one thing that I will say, obviously, because he's homegrown, I think they will give him certain leeways and a bit more of an opportunity than others. But yeah, it would certainly get to a point in his career where he feels he needs first team football, and a move away might be best.
yeah, I think so, and you're right what you said. Most of the starting 11 last night did not do particularly well. Anthony obviously scored a brilliant goal. I mean, that's becoming his trademark now, isn't it? That cutting in on his left foot and curling it into the far corner.
And what a left foot! I mean, obviously the criticisms are obvious. Yeah, his right leg is pretty much just a standing leg. um, but I mean, listen, some of the criticism coming his way, I don't really understand it, to be honest. The guy's 22. He's come to a new league. We're only 6 months into the season. Well, four. So it's going to take time to settle, and plus the manager knows him from the old club as well. So I don't have any concerns long term.
Yeah, that's just my one criticism is that he never uses his right foot. I mean, he could at least once a game he could go down the line and cross it with his right foot, and he had an opportunity last night to do it,
Yeah, you could at
and he
least
didn't.
dummy or pretend like you're going to go out wide.
You know, don't
So
make yourself
yeah.
so predictable. I think even the Charlton manager mentioned how left-footed he is in the in the
Hmm.
in his post-match interview. So if he's
But then
noticing it,
at the same time though, Carl, like you can say he's one-footed, but if he does that one thing with his left foot, it doesn't matter if you predict what he's going to do. You can't stop it.
yeah, because you could say he'll not get that space against
Yeah.
Manchester City, but he did the exact same thing against Manchester City.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's what a trait to have. And still, like I say, he's only 22. And we talk about Ian Robben and how deadly he was. And many called him a one-trick pony. And look at how many years he had to fine hone that. And this kid's only 22. So yeah, I've got no concern.
And Ten Hag said that he'd been working on the likes of Rashford and Shaw. He's working on the training ground with them on how to use their bad foot,
Hmm.
and we were seeing the rewards of that with Rashford and Shaw. I mean, Shaw scored with his right foot. Rashford's been scoring with his left foot and assisting with his left foot in recent games, which is
Listen, we've
brilliant to
seen the
see.
revival of so many players that we thought were dead and buried under this coach. So I have every faith in in his ability to bring the best out of these players. Look at Wan-Bissaka, for example. Even a couple of weeks ago, we thought he was dead and buried. And he's got a second lease of life now under Ten Hag.
Yeah, he just needs to work on Anthony's right foot now, and then he really is a genius.
Yeah.
um, yes, Wan Bissaka, I would say before the World Cup, or even when we restarted against Burnley in the League Cup. At that point, before that game started, I was thinking, we will be in trouble if Juan Masaka had to deputise for Dallo. But now Dallo went off injured last night, and there's obviously a possibility now that Juan Bissaka will start the derby. I'm
Mm.
not really that concerned now. I think Juan Bissaka is at a good level of performance at the moment, and defensively against City, it might be more suitable to have Juan Bissaka there because he'll be up for the battle with Foden or Grealish, whoever it is, and we're going to have a lot less of the ball, so that game might suit Juan Bissaka more. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think Dallo was brought off as a precaution though, with Saturday in mind. So I do think he would still prefer Dallo. Um, I mean, I think I think he'll probably want to go for the settled, established back four in that game of Varane, Martinez, him, and Shaw. So, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you make a very good point. From a defensive standpoint, it might be better to start with Wan-Bissaka. We'll have to see how we line up.
Yeah, now at this moment, I'm actually comfortable whichever one of them starts the game.
Yeah.
I didn't think that would be the case like before Christmas. So also last night, Rashford has now scored in 6 games in a row, 7 goals in 6 games, 15 goals for the season. And I mean, he only played half an hour, and he didn't do much apart from the goals in stoppage time. But he's in unbelievable form. It just shows you what confidence can do for a player.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He's just brimming with confidence, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully he can continue that. I think um, he surpassed Wayne Rooney's record of most number of home goals in a row at United, and no, when he hadn't surpassed it, so he equaled it. I think he can surpass it at the weekend, and hopefully he will do that because it's the biggest game of the
Oh,
season.
no better time to surpass that record.
Yeah, definitely. I think he nodded to Rooney on social media about it as well. Um, Probably a wee bit of banter in there. I'm taking your record type thing, but I think Rooney's even said before he doesn't mind if Rashford beats his records at United and England. I think obviously the records at United are more likely because England don't start Marcus Rashford, which is baffling. Not to get into another World Cup debate, but given how well he played in the group stages, for him not to start a single game in the knockout stages was baffling, and I'm sure you were frustrated by that, given how England went out in the quarterfinals. But yeah, coming back to last night, yeah, we were underwhelming, and then the subs came on. But Ten Hag says it wasn't a result of what was happening on the pitch. He said it was planned before the game that those
Mm.
players would come in after an hour. Ericsson, Casemiro, and Rashford. So they get rested for 60 minutes last night, basically, and then other players such as Varane, Shaw, Bruno, Martial, and so on. They managed to set out the whole game, so they'll be well rested for the derby. So last night really couldn't have went any better, could it?
Yeah, I was a tad surprised with the Martial one. I would have liked to have him to have gotten 25, 30 minutes just because of the way he is. I don't know how comfortable I am just bringing him out of the cold and starting at the weekend.
Yeah, well, Ten Hag's been saying that Martial can't play 90 minutes, which is why he's been substituted in every game that he started. That's
Yeah,
been worrying.
and that's totally fine. I just yeah, which I was just a bit surprised he didn't like get 20 at least um
Yeah, well,
in preparation.
who are we to question Ten Hag? He's the man that seems to
Yeah,
know what he's doing at the
yeah.
minute. He's the man with the minus touch.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, absolutely brilliant. Another another point to mention last night was I thought Maguire was not good. um, I mean his positional play is woeful. He's no pace. He's immobile.
So
Um, he gets beaten in the air. He was getting roasted by League One players. I mean, his time at United he's on borrowed time, really, isn't he?
I was trying to look at positives from his game yesterday just because I did see there was a lot of criticism coming his way. I'll give him this. His long range passing was decent.
Yes, there
Probably
were a few decent
yeah.
cross field balls, but there was a cross field ball or two that just went straight out of play as well.
Yeah, and also it's probably not the best situation when you're talking about the long the long passing of your centre back. Um, But yeah, and there was one or two times he played them on field, onside as well. Yeah.
And there
Like,
was there was a moment in the second half where he thought he was Beckenbauer and he was going forward at pace. Well, what constituted his pace for Maguire?
mm,
And he was on the edge of Charlton's area. He tried to take it round another player and he got dispossessed. And then he committed a cynical foul to stop the counter attack. He put his arm across someone that just summed Maguire up. Um,
yeah,
he was. I mean, he shouldn't be on during. Unless it's a set piece, he shouldn't be running at Charlton defenders.
yeah. There was there was a foul in the second half. It was like something out of a hockey game.
Yeah,
The way he took the player out.
yeah. I think that was that same
Yeah,
incident where he
yeah.
lost the ball and then he basically rugby tackled the Charlton player. Um, yeah, we've said all we're going to say really about Maguire. He's not up to the level now. We've improved in quality with Varane and Martinez, and he no longer fits in.
Again, it's just one of those situations, isn't it? You make do until a time where new personnel can come in. I'm quite happy for him to stay until the summer at the very least, just because if he does go in Jan, I don't believe that the current ownership is well equipped to replace him.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to buy in this window. So the rumor linking him with Aston Villa, and I didn't really believe it, and it turned out to be rubbish.
Yeah,
Um,
it came from left field. I was quite surprised. For about a day or so, it did look like it might happen, but I was kind of baffled by it. And then when it turned out to be rubbish, I wasn't too surprised.
yeah, because if he went, then we'd be down to three senior centre backs basically,
Yeah, it would make
because
no sense, and you can't trust Axel Swanzabi with anything.
no, I mean Tuanzebe and Jones are an irrelevance now at this point, unless they're
Yeah,
completely brought in out of the cold. And we cannot operate with three centre halves because Varane
no,
could get injured at any moment. Yeah, so even though we don't really want Maguire to be starting important games, we cannot leave ourselves, short in numbers in that position. So I think he'll stay to the end of the season, and then they look at it. You know, they'd probably let him go because he. I think if his situation is still the same, maybe still fifth choice centre back at the end of the season.
mm.
Because obviously you have to include Luke Shaw and that, and he's played ahead of him in a number of league games. Um, I think if the situation is still the same, then he would probably want to leave to save his England career.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think the player himself will come to that conclusion. I mean, he turns 30 this before the summer. I think in March he turns 30. So yeah, he'll want first team football. So in the summer he'll sit down with his agent and have a think about what to do.
yeah, and then we can bring in a player to replace him in the squad.
Hmm.
Um, imagine it won't be someone who's coming in to start, unless you're really mean business, and we're going to sign a player who's good enough to displace Varane and Martinez. That would be something else. But anyway, coming back to the present day, another really good 90 minutes from Garnacho last night. Really impressive. Unlucky not to score. Brilliant save by the goalkeeper to deny him. I thought in the first half he was a wee bit too eager to score. He was being a wee bit selfish, with just shooting when he should be picking someone out. But yeah, what a really dangerous player he is, and probably the best out and out winger that we have, and the most exciting player we have. And um, if he's not starting games, he's always coming on. He's kind of the plan B in games when we're struggling. He comes on for the last 20, 30 minutes. And we have to really, he's still only 18. This guy's going to get better, which is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is a very good headache for Ten Hag to have. Because when I was looking at potentially how I'd like us to line up against City, this was one of the questions when I was looking at the forward line. Do we start with Martial or do we go with Garnacho on the left and stick Rashi up top? Because on current form, you can't knock it. He's got every right to be there.
I would be all for that, absolutely. You know, looking at Palestri last night, I was thinking to myself, at some point in the future, what I would love to see is Palestri on the right, Rashford through the middle, and Garnacho on the left. That would be mouth-watering, wouldn't it?
That would be interesting.
Because every player would be playing in their favorite position. I think.
I can kind of see Pelestri as a 10 too.
Yeah, he could. Yeah. Um, he was very impressive in that friendly against Liverpool. I think it
Yeah,
was
because he's
Liverpool.
one of those that
He
he
scored.
looks like he can drift in and just link play together. Very neat and tidy.
Yeah, his touch is immaculate.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and and lovely weighted ball to
Hmm.
Rashford last night as well. So he looks like he's got quite a few things in his locker. He's not just kind of a one trick pony. He's got a lot to his game, and that's very exciting. So yeah, last night was perfect. Through to the next round, as are Newcastle. You imagine City will get through, and then the winner of Wolves and Nottingham Forest. You think Wolves, but there's not. I don't think there's too much between them. Wouldn't be that much of a shock if Forest won, and that's the winner of that tie is what we want, isn't it, in the two-legged semi-final.
Yeah,
Um,
basically. I don't understand why this cup has two legs for the semis. I think it's an unnecessary game.
yeah, well, they've had it for years now, haven't they? Because
Yeah, yeah. Like if they did want to scrap one because of the fixture congestion, it should be that.
definitely, uh, and we've got City in the League Cup semi-finals on more than one occasion, and I don't want that to happen again. I think
Mm.
we've a better chance of beating them in a
In
one-off
a one-off
game.
game, yeah,
Yeah,
most definitely.
because if we have to play them at the Etihad, I'll probably get spanked and the tie will be over. Whereas in the final, anything can happen. Guardiola could overthink things again. We could be at our best and they could have an off day. But if they've got two games to play us, the chances are they're not going to have an off day in both games.
Yeah,
Um, and they're absolutely ruthless at home.
and
So,
also like just as a spectacle, what a final that would be. So
oh,
yeah,
unbelievable. Do you know, looking at the way things are shaping up in both domestic cups, it could be a Manchester derby in both finals.
yeah, yeah. And I've been disgusted at our FA Cup record as well. So that's one that I would really like to set straight. So that's one that I really want to progress in.
Yeah, because Arsenal have snuck ahead of us in terms of the all
Yeah.
time honours list of the FA
Hmm.
Cup. So we've only won once since 2004, I think, which is really
Yeah.
poor for a club of our
Yeah.
stature.
Very, very poor for a club of our size.
That was when Lingard got the winner in extra time against Crystal Palace,
Yep.
and when
2016.
when
Uh,
Pardew was doing the wee dance when they went 1-0 up.
and
What a
then we had
mistake
that
that was.
shocking final under Jose against Chelsea, where well, it was the Hazard penalty that won it. It was such a dead game. Ah,
Oh, it was awful. And Phil Jones gave the penalty away by
yeah,
fouling
yeah,
Hazard.
yeah.
Yeah, we need to do better in that competition. And I'm
Uh,
gonna another. We How many home ties in a row have we got in domestic cups? It's unbelievable. Yeah, Reading again. We keep getting Reading
yeah,
in the FA Cup.
it's all fallen quite nicely. So yeah, I've got no complaints.
I feel like since I was a teenager, we've been getting Reading every couple of years in the FA Cup, third or fourth round. Um, Incredible. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get through that.
Yeah.
And then we're into the fifth round. We're in the semi-finals of the League Cup and then the FA Cup. We've got
Yeah,
a
yeah, the early signs are very good. Obviously, the next 2 weeks in the Premier League is going to be
defining season.
yeah, yeah, it's going to be season defining. For me, I don't have any fear going into these games, which is saying a lot. Um, Not that I think we're going to come out with like maximum points, but I think it's just a very good test to see where we are. I want to see progression from the first half of the season. So even taking on City, like I want to see I want us to give a better account of ourselves because in that last game we were second best from the start. 90 seconds into the game, I thought, oh yeah, we're going to concede. This is terrible.
Yeah. I just want an improved performance.
Yeah,
Bur-
yeah, that's what it is.
um, if we can get a draw, it wouldn't be a disaster. But I want to win. We're at home. We've got
Hmm.
Arsenal away next week. I want the 3 points here.
And
If we
most
could,
definitely, we need to go into it with confidence, as if we're fighting for all 3 points in both of the games.
there's very differing opinions among the fan base. Some of them still think we're massive underdogs in this game, and other fans are quite bullish. They think that we'll win this game.
I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, it always is. It always
It
is.
always is, yeah. Listen, it certainly won't be a surprise if we lose because they are a quality team. For me, losses are going to happen, but it's the manner in which you lose, and I don't want to see the repeat of last time. Is what it is. So I expect to see certain things be different, certain improvements, and if we can sense that we're moving in the right direction, that's what matters, really.
Yeah, we talk a wee bit more about the City game in a second. Just going to do a quick rundown of the player ratings. Before
Hmm.
we do that, please drop us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. So Tom Heaton, very very solid, I thought. So he and didn't have much to do, I suppose, but I'd give him a 7 out of 10. Diogo Dallo obviously come off injured very early on, so I have to give Wan-Bissaka a rating instead. And yeah, I was impressed by him. Yeah, he's back to his defensive best, and like I said earlier in the show, that might be more suitable in a game where we don't have most of the ball. So Wan-Bissaka a 7, Maguire sorry a 3, Martinez a 6, Malacia a 6. Scott McTominay, sorry, is a 5 for me. Fred a 6. Kobe Manu, I'll give him a 6 on his debut. Anthony gets a 7 for the wonder goal. Alejandro Garnacho, very impressed with him last night. He gets a 7. Anthony Alanga, again, very underwhelming. He gets a 4 from me. And in terms of the players who come off the bench, Casemiro 7, Ericsson 7, and Rashford an 8 for his late double. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And Ten Hag probably gets an 8 as well. And another reason why I'm giving Ten Hag that score is this. Um, Charlton manager Dean Holden after the game said, "Our Ten Hag came to see me after the game, invited me to his office. We shared a beer together. He gave me a bottle of wine for my wife and a signed Rashford shirt." And he went on to say, "More important than that, Ten Hag invited me to Carrington to see their way. As a young coach, it's invaluable to learn from some of the best." I thought that was really classy from Ten Hag.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant. That's exactly the kind of stuff you like to see.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, Ten Hag just can't do anything wrong at the moment, and
Yeah.
just
And I
and
think what
just
it is as well, Ten Hag knows what it's like to be on the other side of that.
he does. Yeah, and if any other recent United manager wanted to bring in Wout Weghorst from Burnley, he would be getting absolutely crucified by the fan base. But Ten Hag he has so much credit in the bank that on his record in the transfer market so far has been excellent. So the fans are just willing to go along with it. It seems for the most part. So Weghorst, everybody will know him from the World Cup with those 2 goals against Argentina in the quarterfinal. One of them an audacious, free kick routine, which was apparently his idea, and he executed it too. Great header for the first goal. But look, for most of his career, whether it's been at AZ Alkmaar or Wolfsburg, he's been a really good goal scorer. He's done well at Besiktas as well. He has 9 goals in 18 games. That's 1 and 2. But the one black mark on his record is those 2 goals in 20 games for Burnley last season, albeit a struggling Burnley who don't create that many chances, a defensive team. But apart from that, I can see the attraction for Ten Hag. They're both from the region of Twente in Holland. So yeah, they're not only from the same country, but they're from the same region. Um, Weghorst, and when he was in the Premier League last season, his pressing stats, I think, were the per 90 minutes were the highest in the league, which obviously would be very attractive to Ten Hag. Not only is he a big centre forward, but he's also a very good link player as well. So it's short term. There's zero risk involved. If it doesn't work out, then he'll leave in June. If it does, maybe he'll get a longer contract. I just see this as a zero risk transfer, and it could work out really well. So, what are your thoughts on it, Brush?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think obviously when the news first broke, I think a few eyebrows were raised. Um, yeah, some fans were probably a bit underwhelmed going into the window with one or two of the names they had in their head shortlisted. But yeah, like you say, it's about what the manager wants, and the one thing he would offer is something different. Obviously, stature and size, and he's a totally different kind of forward to anything we have. So that would be a bonus. My only issue with this whole thing is, out of all the players you could have identified, out of all the time you had, you pick the guy who's already on loan. Um, to get him out of that Besiktas deal is so complicated because obviously they hold all the cards. They are under no obligation to cancel that loan. So that's the tricky part of it, and that's the part that annoys me. Aside from that, I don't have any issues with him coming in if he were to come in.
Well, we love a complicated deal.
Honestly, like that was the thing that just proper pissed me off. I was like, oh, and then I'm hearing rumors about, oh yeah, he's willing to pay the 2.5 million euro fee to dissolve the deal, and I'm like, yeah, this is all nonsense.
So you don't believe that he's willing to buy himself out of his contract? No.
No, to end a loan for a player that is contracted to Burnley, who's probably not on that much in the grand scheme of things, to pay 2.5 million euros to buy himself out of a loan just so he can go on loan again, with no guarantee of a permanent move or a pay rise. Yeah, no, I'm not buying it.
I understand your skepticism, but to go from a player who's played majority of his career in the Dutch league, the Bundesliga, and the Turkish league, for the opportunity to play for Manchester United is enormous. It's a lot different to anything else he's experienced in his career, and he's 30. He'll never get the opportunity again.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. The opportunity's there and it's brilliant. But yeah, I would want if I was the player, I would want something in writing from United saying that, listen, you're going to pay me back if I do this.
Yeah. I think it's just maybe him briefing that just to show how keen he is to come to Old Trafford.
Yeah. But it's very tricky, like I say, because Besiktas hold all the cards. They're under no obligation to cancel.
Yeah. Only United could get themselves in a situation where they're trying to buy a player who's already on loan.
Yeah.
And the club that he's on loan to, who don't even own the player, or the club that own all the cards. How do United get themselves into these situations?
Just sheer incompetence is what it is, mate. That's what it comes down to. Like, because I'll tell you what, about just before the January transfer window started, I shout out to Maisie, United Devils is her channel. We did a stream together on potential forwards we could sign in January and beyond, and we shortlisted 5 players each, and we kind of went through the whole plethora of different kind of deals. Short-term solutions, long-term solutions. Who's running out of contract, who might actually be available and realistic, none of which included Weghorst.
I thought you were going to say that one of you suggested Weghorst, so you didn't.
But yeah, it's typical United to target someone who we can't get. It's ridiculous.
I suppose the one difference between this and De Jong is that he wants to come to United. De Jong,
well, he just can't say it publicly, can he?
Yeah. And the way when he scored his last goal for Besiktas, he seemed to be saying goodbye to the fans. He seemed like he had made his mind up already, even though the deal was nowhere near done. But I do think we'll get this one over the line, and he will certainly provide us with a different option that we don't currently have. Our forwards are kind of quick players who run in behind. We don't really have a target man. There was even occasions last night where the ball was being played across the 6-yard box and there's no one there to top it in. And there are obviously situations where the ball is crossed in high. Wan-Bissaka had a cross like that, for example, and there's no one there to get his head on the ball.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. If we bring in a guy like Weghorst, then yeah, that needs to up itself as well. The amount of crosses and things we get into the box does need to increase. We can't really do that so much at the moment because we don't have a focal point like that.
And like his goals at Burnley, his goal record at Burnley is obviously not impressive. 2 goals.
Yeah, but again, I think we have to keep in mind that he played for Burnley.
Yeah. The thing is, at United, we're going to create a hatful of chances.
Yeah, absolutely. Like look at someone like Javier Hernandez. Look at how his goal output was for us compared to how he was at West Ham.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because he created so many chances for Chicharito, and that's why
Yeah,
he scored so much. Um, I do really have a feeling that Weghorst will exceed expectations here. I wouldn't even be surprised if we get somewhere between 8 and 10 goals
I
between now
mean,
and the end of the
listen,
season.
my motto is expect nothing and you can't be disappointed, only pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Anything this guy provides is going to be a bonus for me.
And from what I've heard, he's a player who has personality as well. He's
Mm,
full of self belief. He's not afraid to have a go at his teammates. Apparently the Burnley squad were a bit upset by him last season, how overconfident he was and how he was maybe lecturing certain players.
mm,
Uh, but I think that's sort of a player with that sort of mentality who's really hungry to do well will fit in well on with Ten Hag's United squad, um, and him being, both of them being Dutch and from the same region, they're going to get on like a house on fire. And I think, yeah, Ten Hag will integrate him well into the squad. And there's nothing wrong with the player with personality. That's what we've lacked for so long. A player who's not afraid to speak his mind in the dressing room. A player who's full of self belief. A player who wants to improve himself, and that's exactly what we want. He might not be the most glamorous of signings, but he could turn out to be exactly what we need. So only time will tell. Obviously, it's not over the line yet. Besiktas still have to get a replacement in. Um, Abubakar, is that the player they're looking to get in? He was
perhaps. I think he's a free agent now, isn't
Yeah, he was released by El Nazar after they signed Ronaldo.
he? Yeah.
Um, he was the only recognizable player at that club. And they got rid of him to make way for Ronaldo, rather than playing them together. They mustn't be
I
able to.
think I'm not sure how it works over there, but I think there might be a cap on how many foreign players they can have. So I think that might be why. And I heard that they've got big plans to bring in other big names as well. I heard the likes of Sergio Ramos being linked.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, so he's available, and hopefully Besiktas can get that over the line, and then they'll release Weghorst, and hopefully
Yeah.
he's available. Doesn't look like he's going to be available now for the derby. Maybe the Palace game next week. Now that came as a bit of came out of nowhere, didn't? With 10 days, with 10 days to go, it was announced that that game was going to be played on the 18th of January.
I tell you what, whoever came up with that, they do not care about Crystal Palace at all. That game means that those guys have 3 games in the space of a week. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
at least ours is spread out a wee bit more.
Yeah, yeah, they've basically got 3 games in 6 days. It's crazy with
We've
their
got
thin squad.
we're Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday. That's not too bad. There's still a gap of 4 days between each
Hmm.
game, whereas obviously it's not the same for Palace. But hopefully that plays into our hands because going to Selhurst can be a tricky fixture.
Yeah, yeah, it usually is, isn't it? So yeah,
I think overall we've had more wins than defeats at Selhurst from what I can remember.
yeah,
And
but I think do you know what do you know what it is? I think it's that last game of the season last year. That's what sticks in our minds. We were terrible.
yeah, but at that point it was no longer a surprise that we were terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
We just wanted to get the season done and dusted and move on. Um, yeah, so if we set the Palace game aside for the moment, City and Arsenal, I would snap your hand off for 4 points right now.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but I think our best chance of 3 points is the home game against City, which sounds
Mm,
strange. But the reason why I'm saying that is that City are not pulling up any trees at the moment, albeit they'll be up for it. They're always up for it against United. Um, and we're at home. Whereas going to the Emirates against the team top of the league, I think that would be a more difficult game. I don't know what your opinion is.
it's an interesting one because obviously with City, like you say, they're not really doing anything that impressive at the moment. But then when they've got that cyborg up front, you got to be you got to be alert. So yeah, they can cause problems. We have to be at our best. But yeah, playing at home as well, I think that will play into our hands. As for Arsenal, I mean, we are the only team that have beaten them so far. So that's going to be a very interesting tactical battle. That. because obviously you would think Arteta would have learned his lesson. Um, but yeah, I don't. It's going to be a very interesting tactical battle, that one, because Arteta can't be as naive as last time. But the only way to try and score is to do what he did. But if he does that, we're going to just counter and hit him on the break.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting. Can we do the double over Arsenal? That would be something else.
Oh,
But
that would be fantastic. That would be.
as great as that would be, we're sounding a bit small time here. If Arsenal won the league and we done the double over them, no one's going to care about us doing the double over them. You know, I would happily let Arsenal do the double over us if we won the Premier League. That's what's most important. I think in the past there's teams who've done the double over us and we won the league, so who
Yeah,
cares? I think City
yeah,
might have
but
been one of them.
yeah, but it's one of those where we can only look forward to what's directly in front of us. So I'm just concentrating on us at the moment. I don't care what happens at the top of the league.
Well, you say that. If we won both games, are we in a
Well,
title
then
race?
that would be an interesting conversation. I've been trying to put that off though, Carl. So yeah, come back to me 2 weeks time on that one. I'm not.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
talk about that on the Sunday night of the 22nd of January and see where we are
yeah,
then.
yeah. If there is a need to talk about it, I
Yeah,
don't want to jinx it at all. So
we don't
yeah,
want to get carried away. So, but these three games coming up in space of 8 days, that's going to define our season. We're either going to be in a top four race or in a title race. Hopefully, it's the latter, but you know we might be brought crashing back down to earth and accept we're just in the top four
yeah.
race.
Yeah, but even in the top four, I mean, at the start of the season, I don't know about you, but I wasn't even looking at positions per se. And I thought realistically, if you wanted me to choose, I thought we probably would have been somewhere between about fifth and eighth. Um, but looking at where we are in the table right now, we've got a fantastic opportunity to seize that and potentially finish third realistically. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we need to move on that. Anything below fourth, I think, would be a disappointment from the position we find ourselves in.
definitely. And the way things are going with Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham, I you'd think we'd finish third. We've got a strong chance of that happening. I think
Yeah.
Newcastle will probably fall away at some point.
Mm.
Um, so I think we should at least be finishing third the way things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. My only concern with Newcastle is that obviously with the window open, they've got the finances to make things happen. So if they wanted to, address any weakness, they can.
Yeah, it's still not a. I think Eddie Hearn or Eddie Hearn. What am I talking about, Eddie Hearn?
Got boxing on your mind.
This is a boxing podcast. Um, Eddie Howe. I think he's getting a lot more out of that squad than I anticipated. He's getting a lot of he's squeezing a lot of juice out of the orange there. That's not a top four team if on paper. So he's doing really well. I don't think they'll last the distance. That's just my opinion. I might upset some Geordies by saying that, but
Mm.
yeah, let's see what happens. I
Yeah,
think
no, I don't think you're wrong in that assessment. He's done very, very well there. Take nothing away from the job he's done there. At the moment, I think they're still a little bit off where they need to be, but there's no doubt in my mind that in time they will get there.
yeah, oh well, 100%.
Mm.
It's a case of when, not
Not
if.
if, yeah, it's one of those.
But not this season. I don't think. I think they'll probably finish fifth or sixth. Um, yeah, so we should be looking to be at least finishing third. So, but if we can win these games against the top two, then maybe we're in the title race as well. But I don't even want to think about it too much at the moment.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, one step at a time. All I'm looking for is a good performance. Like I say, losses will come, but it's a manner in which you lose. So yeah, I just want to see improvements from the first time round.
Yeah, no more 6-3s or
Yeah.
4-0s or anything like that. So let us know in the comments what your starting 11 would be against Manchester City at the weekend, and I'm going to run down mine, and then Bruce, you can let us know yours.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go with De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, Shaw. Midfield picked itself. Casemiro, Ericsson,
Ericsson, Bruno.
yeah, and then front three that I would go for would be Garnacho, Anthony and Rashford.
Mm.
What would your team be, Brush?
Yeah, very, very similar to that, basically. If Dallow's fit, I'm not sure if I would go. Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you mean about being more defensively solid, but at home as well, I feel like we should take the game to them. I don't know if that's naive on my part. So I don't know. I might, I might, I think I slightly prefer Dallo for that reason because I want to take the game to them, play our game. But yeah, it might just be a bit naive on my part. And then the only other change, obviously, it's the toss up between Martial and Garnacho. Garnacho definitely deserves to start on form. But my thing, if I bench him, is that we have an impact sub who's superb to bring on. I love to see those changes where you see a sub come on who can affect a game. And if we start with him, then I don't know. Do I feel more confident with Martial coming on as a sub or Garnacho coming on as a sub? I think Garnacho off the bench has more of an impact.
He does, yeah. Although when Martial came on at half time against Liverpool, he was excellent in that
Yeah,
game.
yeah. And thinking about it now, like he was the one that came on as a sub against City and scored twice.
He did,
So
yeah.
yeah. I don't know. So that's a difficult one, but that's one for the manager. Yeah, I'm all right with whatever he decides.
You contradicted your own point there.
Yeah, yeah. As I said it, I was like, oh no, actually, off the bench, Martial has actually been quite effective. But you know what I mean, though, because when Garnacho comes on, you just get excited. Um,
Definitely. I mean, if the game's in the balance with
yeah,
25 minutes to go, the last thing Kyle Walker wants to see is Garnacho coming on.
yeah. But then, yeah, see, I'm stuck. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because I'm like, on form, he plays so fearlessly as well. It makes sense to start him and give Kyle Walker the run around for 60 minutes, and then if things aren't working, then you've got the experience of Martial to come on. Yeah. Either way, I'm not too fussed to be honest. The rest of the team picks itself.
I do think, though, Ten Hag will select the front three of Rashford, Martial, and Anthony.
Mm,
That's it's not the front three that I would go for, but I
yeah.
think that's what Ten Hag will go for.
Mm,
And then apart from uh, apart from the the rest of the team, I think it'd be largely the same. But it'll be I think he'll go for Dallo if he's fit. But I would just I know not everybody will agree with me, but I would just go for Wan-Bissaka because of the opposition.
yeah.
Um, but because it's going to be a game where we're under the cosh quite a bit, and that suits Wan-Bissaka's game. Um,
Yeah. That's the thing. I think that's part of why I don't want it to happen because I don't want to give them the impression that we're just going to sit back and let them have the ball from the get go.
no, we can't do that.
Yeah,
We need to be having at least 45% possession in this game.
yeah. That's the thing. I have a feeling like when they see the likes of Wan-Bissaka starting, they'll just think, oh, we've got the ball, lads.
We
Uh,
can't let them dominate the ball because they're
yeah,
just going to
no,
score eventually.
exactly. Because that's the thing. I felt like there was no confidence the last time we played them. Like from the first whistle, like we were second best.
Yeah, and if you just allow them to knock it around, eventually they'll get it into Holland, and then it's 1-0, and then they do the same, and then it's 2-0, and then the
Hmm.
game's it's a mountain to climb. Then from there, I think ideally we need to score first,
Yeah.
if we want to win this game. Uh, I think we're going to get. I know Guardiola probably have something on his sleeve to prevent this from happening because it's happened to them so many times, but probably one of the tactics that we'll employ is Rashford on the counter attack, looking to score.
Hmm.
When they pour the bodies forward, and then they're knocking around our half. If someone like Casemiro can win the ball back, we'll look to play it over the top of the Rashford, and that'll be, one of the ways we'll be trying to score in this game. But you think by now Guardiola would be wise to that, and he'd be, maybe playing an extra defensive midfielder or something, or
Oh,
people with pace at the back.
you never can be too sure with Pep. That man likes to just outthink himself sometimes.
Yeah, he does tend to overthink his lineups and all. There's always times, not always, but sometimes there tends to be a surprise. Even in cup finals, he'll bring
Yeah,
someone out of the cold and start them.
yeah, it was
He
crazy.
just
Like listen, looking back at that Champions League final they were in, 7 out of 10 times he wakes up, he plays Fernandinho, does the normal things, and City go on to win that game.
yeah, he didn't play a defensive midfielder in the Champions League final.
No,
Incredible. Yeah, he does tend to overthink it, and messes it up himself on the odd occasion, and hopefully he
Yeah,
does that on Saturday.
yeah.
Um,
He, I like to say he outpeps himself.
yeah, yeah, he outthought himself.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he must sit there the night before in his hotel room, just thinking about it, and then just wakes up with a totally different plan, and then
yeah, that's what it is. I imagine he goes home. Yeah, he goes to bed with like just loads of notes and just tears everything up in the morning. Does it all over
yeah, yeah, like Tarantino when he's writing a film, something like
again.
that. Yeah, hopefully he gets it wrong with his team selection,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
tactics at the
The,
weekend.
the only thing I'm not liking is that we've got the early kickoff as well. It's the 12:30 one on Saturday.
Yeah, the whole weekend could be ruined at
Yeah.
lunchtime on Saturday.
So yeah, so that'll be something nice to look forward to when the Europa League rolls back round. We're back to Sunday. I can enjoy my Saturdays again.
No, no, no. We need to be positive. We're winning games now. You know, I mean, since the restart, we've only conceded one goal.
Yeah,
And we've scored a hatful. We're
yeah.
regularly scoring
Touch wood.
three in games.
Long may that continue. I mean, our goal difference in the league table is ridiculous because anytime we have lost, we've just got absolutely spanked. But the rest of the time, the defensively, we've been really good.
Yeah, and that goal we did concede was practically an own goal by De Gea against Everton.
Yeah.
But apart from that, nothing.
Oh, that's
So
one thing as well on Saturday. I hope we guard against complacency when it comes to silly mistakes. I hope David's had a brilliant season, but the one the other day where it was through his legs against Everton, I hope he's left that behind.
yeah, this is the game where we cannot afford that. When you're
Yeah,
when you're playing against Everton, you can afford goalkeeping errors,
hmm
because we'll score the goals to win the game. But against City, the margins will be so fine. Well, we hope that one mistake by the keeper or
it
defender.
can really cost you, and
Yeah,
obviously that kind of mistake in a big game, it's very easy then to concede a second and for heads to drop. So that's something we need to guard against.
yeah, because that's happened to us against City a few times, and Liverpool as well in recent
Mhm.
years, where even though we've done well in some of these games, but in the games where we haven't done well, once we concede another one right away, and then
Yeah,
the
yeah.
game's
And
over.
also since the restart, I don't think Martinez and Varane haven't played together, have they, since the restart? They haven't had a chance to.
Martinez and Varane, no, they
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah. So yeah, again, that'll be interesting. Need to get that partnership up and running again.
Definitely. And as well as Shaw has done at centre back, we seen in the Bournemouth game how good he can be at left back when he's coming forward, and we missed that when he's playing centre back.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we should see that on Saturday. Then we want to see he scored against City before
Yep.
in the game that was behind closed doors, obviously during the pandemic, but. We want to see him bursting through the middle, really causing problems for City.
Yeah. Oh, there was
Um,
a lovely ball in as well that he put in that Bournemouth game. Uh,
yeah, it was for one of the goals. Well,
yeah. I think it was Bruno that assisted, so it was like the pre-assist. It was a lovely ball to pick out Bruno in the first place before he knocked it down to Rashford.
yeah, and then he had a long bursting run
Mm,
that, and then he got on the end of himself. Then when he scored with his right foot,
yeah.
we want to, and the goal he scored against City was something similar a couple of seasons ago when he burst right. I think Henderson bowled the ball to him, and then he burst right through the middle. He played
Mm,
it to someone who played it back to him, and then he rolled it into the corner. We want to see him do that again. When he's at full flight, coming forward, it wreaks havoc for defenses. So we want to see him continue that.
yep.
He's in great form at the moment, no matter what position he's playing in. But we get the best out of him when he's playing left back. Sorry, at centre
Yeah,
back.
definitely,
And
definitely.
anyway, at centre back, he's those three games he played at centre back beginning against teams near the bottom of the table. You don't want to be playing him in centre back against Holland. Let's be honest.
No, no, you don't. But yeah, it is an interesting headache to have, though. It's another option. I think it's one that we might have to revisit when Barcelona roll around because Martinez is suspended for that first leg.
Yeah, I was just talking about that last night actually.
Mm,
Um, I think that's highly likely that Varane and Shaw will start in the new camp because
yeah.
I think Ten Hag probably likes his left side as centre back to be left footed,
Mm.
brings more balance to the team. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case in the new camp. So anyway, it's been a fantastic show talking about the win over Charlton, looking ahead to City, and obviously Weghorst coming in. So more exciting times ahead, I hope. So if everyone could please subscribe to the channel, get your thoughts in the chat, and smash a like on the video. And I will see you again then, Brush.
Yeah, take care.
Okay, see you later.